Doom is one of those series that kind of built the gaming industry and is just what I would refer to as a pillar of gaming. Just one of those franchises where it would be hard to imagine gaming without its existence. When the original Doom released in 1993, it lit the world on fire, no pun intended. You just play as a dude fighting back demons and repelling the forces of hell using a variety of weaponry and doing it for, at the time, in an incredibly bloody fashion. So bloody, in fact, that along with Mortal Kombat and Night Trap, is one of the games unofficially credited as a reason behind the ESRB rating system that we have all come to know and love today. As I touched on my Halo Infinite review, I hate seeing these pillars of gaming crumble and become a shell of them former selves. Halo is not quite there in my opinion, but it is definitely drawing near, and at one point it seemed Doom would suffer a similar fate. Doom was riding pretty high for a while, with the first four quote-unquote mainline releases, defined by Wikipedia as Doom 1, 2, Final Doom, and Doom 64, getting pretty high praise. Then came Doom 3. Now, I never really played Doom 3, I got like maybe 45 minutes into it once and never touched it again. But from what I can read online, it seems to be a relatively good game with not too much to complain about, but however, it is not the game the fanbase wanted. You see, if you Google any Doom game that is not Doom 3, Google describes them as a first-person shooter. And when you hear that, you probably think of modern Doom games, Call of Duty, Halo, etc., etc. Fast-paced, action-packed, high-intensity games that make you feel like a badass, aka what the Doom franchise is well known for. But if you Google Doom 3, Google describes it as a survival horror first-person shooter. Some examples of other survival horror games are Amnesia: The Dark Descent, Alien Isolation, and Resident Evil 7. These games are slow, methodical, and you play as someone who is largely helpless against enemies, aka everything the Doom fanbase was looking to avoid. You see where the issue is? Yeah, Doom 3 might have been a good game and probably be more of what the developers pictured for the series, but it was just more or less the opposite of what people really wanted out of a Doom game. So the series laid dormant for 12 years as fans of Doom wondered what would come next. Then 2016 rolled around, and just like the demons you fight, Doom emerged once more. This game signified a new chapter for the series, being simply named Doom instead of Doom 4, and a whole new look to keep up with modern expectations. But gameplay that harkened back to the original games while also adding new twists to pull it out of the 90s. And it was a resounding success, selling like gangbusters and winning 2 awards at the Game Awards that year in the form of Best Music/Sound Design and Best Action Game, as well as being nominated for Best Game Direction and the ever sought after Game of the Year. Now, I've played Doom Eternal a few years ago and I absolutely loved it, but I skipped right to that, kind of. I played the original 1 and 2, but I never played like Final Doom or Doom 64. But after I played Doom 1 and 2, I waited a few years, then played Doom Eternal without playing anything in between. So I figured it was high time I go back to this series as restarting point and play Doom 2016. So strap in and hold on as we discuss Doom 2016. Doom 2016 was developed by id Software, published by Bethesda Softworks, and was released on May 13th, 2016, believe it or not, for PS4, Xbox One, and Windows PCs, and would eventually come to Nintendo Switch and Google Stadia in the following years. I played the PC version, purchased through Steam, and recorded all footage you are seeing from the PC version using OBS. I also played a very hefty amount of this game on my Lenovo Legion Go. Honestly, probably outside of playing for the sole purpose of getting footage for this video, I want to say 90% or above on the Lenovo. But I played it that much on there because it ran like a dream, with only one small issue that I will get to later. But overall, it ran amazingly on the device, honestly better than I expected. In Doom 2016, you play as a man simply known as the Slayer. And as the Slayer, you awake on Mars and find out humans were using energy from hell as an endless power source. But where there is temptation, there will be those who give into it. And scientist Olivia Pierce opened a portal to hell, allowing demons to ravage the power plant and kill nearly everyone in it. But this does not sit well with the Slayer, as it is now his job to close the portal to hell and turn every demon that tries to stop you into a bloody mess. First and foremost, this is a game that requires an adjustment period, and you are probably thinking one of two things. Either every game needs an adjustment period, or that Doom is an FPS and how is it any different from other first-person shooters. But Doom is very different, I assure you of this. I haven't played many other modern-day boomer shooters, so I can't speak for those, but Doom just plays very different from your normal first-person shooter. First and foremost, you most frequently get health back from killing demons and enemies. There are health pickups, but most of your recovered health will come from killing people. So it takes a while for you to rewire your brain and think, oh, my health is low, I better get more aggressive and not run and hide. And then pair that with some of the fastest paced combat around, and it takes a little bit to retrain your brain on how you typically think. This could be similar to other boomer shooters, but in terms of comparing it to traditional first-person shooter games like Call of Duty or Halo, it could not play any more differently. I was a little used to it thanks to Doom Eternal, but it definitely has been long enough, like, I don't know, at least a year or two since I played that game. And I had an adjustment period where I was like, oh yeah, this is how you play Doom. Like the first 30 minutes, I was like, okay, yep, this is what I forgot. This is what I gotta do. But the only thing more iconic about Doom than the gameplay is the music. The music in the modern Doom games is legendary. With a soundtrack composed by Mick Gordon, you know when you hear a Doom song. It is composed mostly of heavy metal tracks, very fast-paced techno music, or tracks that are a mixture of the two. It almost makes me wish that the action wasn't so crazy fast and chaotic, because I wish I could focus on the music more. Obviously, Mick came back for Doom Eternal and did the music for that game, but he also did, and I can't believe I didn't put two and two together sooner, he also helped put the music together for Atomic Heart, which I always thought had similar music to Doom, and I'm shocked I never put that together in my head. And Atomic Heart is obviously not without its faults, but as someone who probably liked that game more than most, the music is what has always stuck in my head by far and away the most. Well, that and Crispy Critters. But moral of the story, Mick Gordon is one of the best in the biz if you ask me, and his work in video games as a whole, at least based on my experience, is nothing short of perfect, and Doom just exemplifies that. Having played Eternal, I sort of expected the soundtrack to be great. What I did not expect was for this game to have a reasonable story. Now, I'm not saying it's like an all-time great in terms of storytelling or anything, but given that Doom games before this, at least to me, basically didn't have a story, I was pretty shocked. I remember kind of being lost a little bit in terms of story when playing through Eternal. However, with 2016, I was pleasantly surprised that I not only could keep up with the story happenings, but also get invested in it. The story of the humans using Mars for energy and then having a traitor and turning the demons on the humans and then the Slayer being called upon to right this wrong, it was just a nice little yard spinning to go along with the carnage of the game. And speaking of the Doom Slayer, I do want to discuss the characters of him and Samuel Hayden for a bit. We'll start with Doom Slayer. I really enjoy how he was like kind of polar opposite. He's like the embodiment of polar opposites and the juxtaposition he brings. He is a ruthless warrior who knows no bounds in violence and will stop at nothing to rip and tear, wink wink for those who get that, his enemies to pieces until the job is done. These are typically qualities of a villain in a story, but the Slayer is the hero. He is the Messiah in a sense and is purging hell and saving humanity. The actions of the Slayer can often cause one to forget that the Slayer that you're playing as is a good guy, and I like how that happens. Oftentimes in like media and movies and video games and whatnot, the good guy, I don't want to kill people, or I'm like, or they go to the bad guy and be like, oh, it's not too late to turn things around and join the good side, yada yada. But not the Doom Slayer. No way. He shows no mercy to those who oppose him, and I love that. I also really enjoyed the character of Samuel Hayden. Samuel Hayden is a giant robot who was one of the leading figures of the UAC energy production on Mars. Without spoiling too much, he helps guide the Slayer through the facility and how he can close the portal to hell that allows the demons to enter humanity's realm. Originally, I thought he was voiced by James Spader, the voice behind Ultron in the Avengers movie, and I was thinking like, man, this guy has really got a knack for voicing robots. But upon looking some stuff up for this video, I found out he was actually voiced by Darren DePaul. Darren has done some work across a lot of mediums, but he is most prolific in gaming, having voiced many characters I've even come in contact with that I didn't know that he was behind, such as Truman Zanotto in Psychonauts 2, J. Jonah Jameson in the Insomniac Spider games, Eshram in Halo Infinite, and the two characters of his that I am most familiar with, Revenant from Apex Legends and Reinhardt in the Overwatch games. The voice Darren brought to Hayden is so foreboding, ominous, and dark, which lends very well to a nearly 10-foot tall robot from what I can see, from what I could find about like talking about lore of this game and like there's the measurements of things. Pause. And he has a quote that I heard a while ago that I won't say since it is a little spoilery, but out of context when I heard it, I didn't realize what was being said. But it is the type of quote that you have heard said a decent amount of times in one form or another, but Samuel delivers it in such a way and with such a voice of conviction that carries a little extra weight for me when it hits my ears. And that is all thanks to Darren DePaul. So in summary, Doomslayer and Samuel Hayden are two really cool cats. Doomslayer is also not the only thing they brought back from the older games. The original Doom games functioned in a traditional level format where you get dropped in an area, clear out some baddies, progress through the level, and get a little score at the end of the level. Then you do it all again in a new level. Doom 2016 functions very similarly. It is a little more linear in the sense that there is a lot of more cohesion between levels and you have reasons for going to the places you're going to. At least that, like I said, I had trouble following the story in the older games, so in this one, I knew where I was going and why I was going there. But they're also much larger and longer than before. The basics are pretty similar, even down to getting key cards. I really like that they brought this formula back and expanded upon it and modernized it in a way. I feel this is a great way to make this game feel familiar to long-term fans and pay homage to the early games, but also modernized it in a way where new players who haven't played the old games can enjoy it. Really nice level design all around here is what I'm getting at. Really, the only major gripe I have is the final boss of the game. Again, without spoiling anything, the final boss fight is just a very lackluster for me in terms of difficulty. I played this game on the hardest difficulty I could without playing through it first. There are some locked difficulty settings I didn't have access to since I never played it before, so I played it on the hardest difficulty I had access to, whatever it was called. I can't remember the name of it. And make no mistake, this is a hard game. I died plenty of times. Before I had the chance to upgrade my health, I was dying in like 1 to 2 hits, and there were only a few boss fights, I think, like 3. Which I like since Doom shines best in non-boss encounters in my mind. But anyway, it is a hard game. However, the boss fights were the easiest bits to me, with the final boss being the easiest of the bunch. In fact, it is the only boss fight I beat on my first try. So after really going through the trenches with this game and someone who enjoys difficult challenges for the most part in video games, I was a little disappointed with how easy the final boss was, especially since I found other boss fights more challenging. Alright, I'd like to introduce a new segment to my video game reviews called Tidbits. Oftentimes when I'm playing games, I have little observations that aren't all important or I really don't feel the need or even really know how to flesh out into a decently length talking point. And as a result, I just omit these observations. But I'd like to work in a way to bring these observations to light, since I do oftentimes wish I could include them, but I just can't find a good way to make it the video flow well with these included. But hence here we are. So this will just be a quick rapid fire section with points about some smaller observations I had, and say just a few sentences on them, whether they be good, bad, or neutral. So let's get into the tidbits. This only happened once, so I'm more inclined to think it was a bug more than anything, but there was a combat encounter where I died a decent amount attempting to get through it and started over a lot. But there was one time in those tries, I died and got back into the combat arena, and the enemies were gone and I was able to progress without fighting. Doom is all about being badass and fast-paced action, and nothing makes me feel less badass than the game telling me I'm not good enough for a fight, and it just forces me to bypass that part. But this, like I said, this only happened once, so I didn't want to spend too much time on it. Had it happened more times, then it probably would have been a normal talking point. But with it only happening once, I'm more inclined to think it was a bug. But I still thought it was worth mentioning. When playing this on my Lenovo Legion Go, there was an issue where there were times where I tried to move, and instead of running, I was very, very slowly walking. In a game like Doom, movement and speed are vital to success, so for me to move at a snail's pace unexpectedly definitely caused me to take unnecessary hits and even at times die and have to start over. And last but not least, when performing glory kills, the music cuts out and will resume when the glory kill is over. It does only last a few seconds, but a few seconds in this game feels like a few minutes in any other game with how fast-paced it is. Plus, as I said, the music in this game is top-notch, so for it to be cut out and during combat, for me, in my case, many times per combat encounter, it's just kind of a little negative to me. I would have liked to hear that music keep playing as I'm ripping these demons' guts out their nose. But that's all the tidbits, honestly. So expect kind of a little closing part of the game reviews to be just, you know, here's some little sprinkles of things I observed. But wrapping things up here, I have played the original Doom games semi-recently, like I mentioned, probably like within the past 5-6 years, which, considering those games are 30 years old, I'd say that's kind of recent. And they still held up, still fun, but I much prefer these reboot games. I played Eternal on a whim since it was on Game Pass, and I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. And then going to the game before it, I expected it to still be good, but not as good. However, they are a lot closer in quality than I thought they would be. I still think I prefer Eternal, as I am one of those people that liked the platforming sections of that game, as well as I enjoyed the upgrades and movement more in Eternal. But with that being said, Doom 2016 is still like 95% as good. The Doom reboot series has become one of my favorite series nowadays to play, because quite frankly, I've not played anything quite like them. And the best news of all, Doom the Dark Ages is scheduled to come out in 2025, and I could not be more excited. Seriously, I think about this game weekly at least. I absolutely love these games and cannot wait until the Dark Ages comes out. But at least for now, I got my fix of a new, to me, Doom adventure. Doom is just so fun and great, and the games I really enjoy playing, but not as fun, great, and enjoyable as you. Thank you so much for taking the time to give this video your time and attention. I appreciate it. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. It goes a long way for us here at Milkman Media. I know I said Dishonored 2 was going to be the next game I cover, but for reasons I'll explain in the video for it, Doom ended up leapfrogging it in my order. But Dishonored 2 likely will be the next game I cover on the channel. I was going to make an Outlast Trials video kind of a while ago, but I never ended up doing it. But I've been kind of playing it again here and there, so maybe I'll make that video. Who knows? I still have all the footage that I recorded for it, honestly. But you know, expect Dishonored 2 to be the next video, probably. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that, as well as any other gaming or food videos I put out. I also mentioned a lot of games I have played and made videos on in this one. So if you heard one that you liked or piqued your interest, make sure to check the description, as any game I mentioned and have a video on, I linked in there. And lastly, let's talk Doom in the comments, whether it be the new games, the old ones, the movie that came out that I never saw but apparently is god-awful, how excited you are for the Dark Ages coming out, or anything else that's on your mind, Doom or not. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks again for watching this video. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you down in the comments. But as always, I'll see you in the next one.